My name is Jarett Wieselman. I'm very excited to be here tonight. You all just watched what I think is one of the best episodes of television of 2017, hands down. But it's an amazing show from top to bottom, and I'm so excited to be able to have a conversation with the cast today. So please, without further ado, please welcome Justina Machado. Rita Moreno. Todd Grinnell. And Isabella Gomez.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you all so much for being here this evening. Congratulations on the show. Congratulations on the second season, which we have not seen yet, but I'm very excited about.
Neither have we. That's right.
But you know what's been so amazing, and I'm curious what everyone here on stage has sort of had. I mean, when I talk to people about this show, they don't talk to me like they're actually watching a television show. There's such a relatability in the way people discuss these characters.
Ooh, what a nice way to put it. Wow, that's nice.
Well, I mean, have you had similar experiences when people talk to you about the show? Do you find that they're almost discussing like removed family members with you in some way?
Oh, yeah, I think we just came from a talk at a Netflix where we were discussing season 1 and season 2, and yeah, the people that come up to us, it's all about representation. So they feel like they see themselves up there. They have, oh my God, you're just like my mother. You know, Rita's just like my grandmother. There's a thing where they get to see somebody that looks like them, and then we tell stories that are universal. So yeah, there's that familiarity that we have with them.
And what's kind of wonderful about that is that we're not hearing this only from Hispanics. I mean, that's what's just kills me, because ultimately the aim of this show anyway, and Norman Lear being Norman Lear, is that it's about a family and all the problems that ensue when you are a family. What we bring to it as Latinos is all that wonderful kind of, I have to say it, spice, you know. And I love the craziness of my character, needless to say. Can't imagine why they put me in that role, but what a joy, what a pleasure. And it isn't just about a Latino family. Otherwise, I don't think we would have the audience that we do.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, I want to ask you, Rita, you know, it was so interesting to me because when I actually sat down to do research for this and was looking at the television shows you've been a part of, you've been very selective about what shows you've actually been a series regular on.
It usually means I wasn't offered much, but go ahead. That was a very classy way to put it, thanks.
No, I'm serious, because I think there is something very significant about what you choose to attach your name to, and I'm curious, when it came to this, what was it about this show that felt...
In fact, that is a good question, because the last thing in the world I wanted to play was yet another, you know, Latina. But first of all, it was Norman Lear, and we literally met at a fundraising dinner, of course. Where else would you meet Norman? And he said, I have this show that I'm going to do, and I really want... I was the first one, actually, that he spoke to, as it turns out. And that's all he said. And he said, I'd like you to be in it. Are you interested? And I said, yes. And then I said, what is it? And I remember thinking, oh, shit, suppose I hate the whole premise.
You almost did. Do you remember that you were a little bit nervous about who the rest of the cast was going to be?
Exactly. Exactly.
She's
that's
like,
right.
oh, God.
So that's how that happened. Especially you, Todd.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll become friends later. Maybe season 7.
But when you read it, and when Norman actually told you what it was about, I mean, what was it about this character and this world that spoke to you?
Hey, is Gloria not here? Our head writer?
She's here in the audience or in the green. There she is. She's back there.
Hey.
Hi! We have our showrunner here.
Yeah.
Gloria Calderón Kellett.
This feels very strange because this is the first time I think we've done a panel without Gloria sitting on
feel
stage.
like
Royce.
This is Gloria or Mike Royce. Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's her name immediately was about to come up anyway, because when it became serious that in fact there was going to be a show, I had a conference call with Norman and the two head writers, Mike Royce and Gloria Calderón, Kellett. And I made a request, and she leapt at it, and that made me so happy, because I said, okay, I'm playing a grandmother. Fine, why not? I mean, that's what I am. But I said, I have to make a request, and that is that you let her or have her be a sexual person. I said, just because she's old doesn't mean that she doesn't have, some stuff going on there. Really. Really, and I almost lived to regret it because she had me doing sexy stuff, my God. Oh, she's such a dirty woman. To my great joy. I love playing this dirty old woman. But that's how that came about, and that's how that part of her character came about, because I just thought, I do not want to play another sexless woman who pours Bustelo coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Understandable. Justina, I want to ask you, when we talk about this show speaking to so many different audiences, I think you really get that in Penelope. I mean, she served in our military. She's a single mother. She is also, like Rita's character, a woman who has desires that aren't always seen on television. I mean, yes. She dates, she's talking about her life. I mean, when you have all of these things in one person, how huge and exciting does that opportunity feel?
That's it, huge and exciting. I mean, so many times I think when we see Latino characters, especially Latina characters, and I can speak from experience, that we're always in some sort of box. Either we're like the asexual cop, or we're like the over-sexualized, woman, or the suffering mother, which I've played a million times. I've been playing a mother since I was like 27. I'm one of the greatest shows ever, 6 Feet Under. But still, I was a mom, and I was 27 years old. So it's just amazing to have such a well-rounded, grounded human being, like a real human being, like the way we really are, and to see it through these eyes. So it's so exciting. I never feel bummed about it. I'm never like, oh God, this is too much work. I'm never like, I can't wait to go on hiatus. No, I am so appreciative of this, and I know what an incredible opportunity this is to play this character. So it's all good all the time.
Yeah.
You're good all the time, baby.
I'm curious, when we talk about people who love the show coming up to you, what kind of conversations have you had the blessing to have with women who might be in the same position as Penelope, either coming back from war or sort of trying to figure out that new dynamic of their lives?
They're just super grateful. They're really, and Gloria can speak to this too, because she's part of a group on Facebook, single mothers, and they're just so excited. Not that Gloria's not a single mother, but they're just so excited that they're getting this representation, and also, veterans and just in general. And who else has a lot of that is Isabella, because of the community that she represents. So she really gets it. I think Rita was saying it, really gets that love and attention. And you know what I get a lot of? I wish that you were my mom. That's what I get a lot of. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the best kind of compliment, because
I don't have any kids, but yeah. It's a compliment to pretend. But yeah.
Isabella, I want to ask you about that, because I mean, what Elena goes through in the first season is something that so many millions of people have gone through. I mean, what was exciting for you about the opportunity to play that?
Actually, when I came into the role, I didn't know how underrepresented LGBTQ people were, and I had no idea about all the problems going on and the barrier gaze trope and all of that. And so the first season, I just kind of did it, and I thought it was really fun, and I didn't think anything of it. Like,
she said to me, I'm gonna be gay.
You're so excited.
I literally, after I booked the role, I had a meeting with Mike Royce and Gloria Calderón, and we're talking about Elena and her arc, and they're like, oh, and by the way, she might deal with her sexuality, and it's just another bullet point on my list. And I think that's what's cool about my generation, but I didn't realize how much it would affect people after. So it wasn't until the first season came out that it became such a huge deal to me. And I came into season 2, I don't want to say caring about it more, because I cared about it a lot, but understanding how meaningful it was, and really wanted to make it justice and make it good for everybody that needs it. And kind of like Justina, like I get girls my age and a little bit older saying like, this is really awesome, like I was able to come out because of you. But I was telling them that what really touches me is there's like 30, 35, 40-year-old women that come up to me and tell me that because that they wish they would have had someone like Elena when they were younger, because it would have made their lives easier. And it's so wonderful to be that for 15-year-olds now. And it's I'm so lucky and I'm so blessed to do it. And like Justina, I don't, it doesn't go unnoticed, and yeah, I totally understand, and it's really awesome to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Representation matters. You know, I think what you see, especially on television, because it's in everyone's homes in a very organic way. But you said something I want to actually circle back to. Your reaction to finding out that Elena would go through that does, I think, represent sort of a generational thing. You know, it's a very contemporary mindset to be like,